Please be advised that the opinions and views expressed are that of the individual dancer and not necessarily a reflection or representation of the host. Any advice given in the podcast should be taken as friendly conversation and not professional help. All video content has been provided and approved by the individuals and should be viewed under viewers' own discretion. Let's get into today's podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm here with my good friend Mitch, and we are so excited because we get to talk about partnering and what it's like in the industry and get his perspective. So welcome, Mitch.
Hey, good to be here.
So nice to have you here. Well, before we go into all partnering stuff, why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little about your training and your journey so far as a dancer.
Yeah, no worries. Well, my name's Mitch. I started dancing pretty much how most boys, I think, start dancing, where there's a small local dance school and my sister started dancing and my mum went, you know what's a great idea? Let's put you into dance class as well. So that's how it kind of all started for me. I found, like a lot of boys that I've kind of spoken to in the industry, we've all kind of grown up very similar, not really finding the right fit. I was definitely a bit of more of a naughtier boy growing up, and I
Doesn't
found
surprise me.
the phrase bouncing off walls was it was taken quite literal for me. As most boys are with a lot of energy, I found going into dance class actually kind of like chilled me out a bit, calmed me down. And then next thing you know, fast forward a few years and I'm working in the industry as a professional dancer. I'm doing predominantly most of my work around Melbourne, especially in the corporate scene. But I've also travelled Australia and I've been very fortunate enough to travel internationally with my dancing too. Doing everything from small little kind of meet and greet easy dance gigs to a few weeks ago I performed at the Australian Open for the semi-finals, which is pretty special.
Very special.
So it's a very mixed bag industry, lots of highs and lots of lows.
As life is, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, why don't you talk through us specifically about your partnering journey? Like what kind of partnering do you do, how long you've been doing it, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I started the partnering game when I was probably around that 14, 15-year-old mark. So kind of puberty had just started to kick in, call it like started to get my big boy muscles, as some might say. I don't know. I've always found I really like, everyone likes having their solo moment, but I think I've always really enjoyed sharing something on stage. There's something really special about doing something with someone together. Dancing became less about, let's look cool, let's do this. And I really enjoyed the thing about sharing the stage and sharing a moment with someone on stage. As most boys find, they're normally the only boy in the dance school, so you get a lot of time normally doing your own thing, but I really liked this idea of like sharing and doing something with someone. And so I started working with a girl at my dance school years ago. And we just started doing things and we ended up doing it for some competitions. And, you know, I really enjoyed the elements of being able to do press lifts and doing something cool, something that a lot of boys my kind of age, that kind of, you know, mid, early, and then in the later teen years don't really do until you're an adult. But I was kind of starting to do it when I was in that kind of mid-teen age kind of spectrum. And it was something that I found it gave me a bit of an edge and it was something that I quite enjoyed. So I kind of kept dancing, kept training, but also kept that up my kept that to my side. And then I don't know, I never really expected I was going to be known as like a partner dancer.
Yeah.
But I just kind of find it like when I'm at a gig or when I'm dancing alongside someone, I normally find that I do a lot of the partner work stuff. And I think that's just based on reputation, and it's not really, you don't go out and advertise yourself as I'm only this, I'm only a partner dancer, but I just, kind of found myself into it.
Amazing.
And I think I just had a few lucky opportunities when I was younger in that kind of developmental age group, and I've just found it was something that I enjoy doing, so I always put myself into that position.
Yeah, amazing.
Hmm.
And do you think that you do a lot of like just like press stuff, or is it all more like ballroom kind of things? Like what kind of styles, or just does it vary gig to gig, really?
Yeah, I think the varying of gig to gig, I think is the best way to put it, because as dancers, we can't just like lock into one style and be, I'm a ballroom dancer, I'm a ballet dancer, I'm a
Yeah.
contemporary dancer. I find most of the time, a lot of the partnering and lifts I do, it'll normally be a commercial routine or a contemporary routine for a corporate gig. And it's more like, let's do something specky, let's do something. You never normally get a full duet type routine where you're kind of seamlessly going lift to lift.
Yeah.
But I'd say 80% of the corporate shows I get cast in normally would require some kind of partner work. It doesn't really matter what it is, but kind of the partner work will be anything from a shoulder set to a press lift to even just a turn in and a turn out. I find there's always some level of partner work, and it doesn't matter what style. Find um, most of the time with the corporate work, commercial work, it's simple, easy stuff, but there's always a little smattering of something a bit more complicated in there.
Yeah, amazing.
Um, yeah.
Amazing. And do you go to classes? Like, what's your perspective of classes in Melbourne? Is that how you like kind of get to broaden your skill, or is it more so meeting up with people, renting out a studio? Like, what's your process?
Yeah, my process, I find the best of both. You need to get the best of both worlds in here. So I find, especially with a lot of major production shows and also musicals, there will always be some kind of partnering element in there. And I find most people, I've seen a lot of really good dancers get cut from those partnering calls because they're just not confident in that.
Yeah.
Um, and they're fantastic dancers, but they're not used to partnering a stranger or partnering someone that they haven't been partnering for a while, or they're just very new to partnering. So classes are the best way to get better at that. Classes, you get thrown into the deep end sometimes. You have to partner someone. You don't necessarily get to pick and choose, which is exactly what you have in auditions. Auditions, you don't get to go, you and me, let's partner together.
No, thank you.
No, the casting director or the choreographer or the resident choreographer, they will pair you together, and you don't really get a choice. Sometimes they might let you swap around, but a lot of the times I see people get stuck. They don't get to partner the people that they would like to partner or choose to partner, and that ends up being a bit of their downfall because they're not able to adapt. So that's why I find classes are the best,
Yeah.
but also it's amazing if you do have the ability to find someone and you can spend one-on-one time. That's where you can actually work on the exciting things, and you've got that trust with someone and you can build that up over time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
find there's a few people in the industry where I've worked with a bit, and it makes things so much easier because then you see them at a gig or you do see them in an audition room, and if you are lucky enough to get paired with them,
you can just whip
it
something.
makes things so much easier. But by doing classes and getting used to partnering a whole range of different body types, different abilities, it makes you a much more formidable dancer, especially in the audition room.
Yeah, amazing. As dancers, we all perfect our skills and everything like that, whether it be turning, kicks. What's something from like a male perspective specifically do you think that's helped you, like gym wise, just different technique stuff?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a link with obviously gym training and functional fitness that helps, especially with partnering and lifts, especially when we're talking about full presses. It's about understanding how to utilize momentum to your advantage. Yeah, there's one thing about being strong enough to say do a press lift, but understanding how to utilize momentum in terms of actually it's not just about the upper body. You've got to use your whole body to get those lifts done. So it's about activating through your knees, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, getting the power up, and then you're following through with your upper body. So I'd say getting an understanding of the fundamentals of the body, how the body works, and then increasing your strength and your power, especially explosive and isolating um, training styles.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And you touched on,
Mm,
when you do classes that you not necessarily get to choose who you're partnered with.
no.
So talk us through like how you navigate working with different skill levels from a pro to someone who's never done it before, from like
Yeah.
tall girls to short girls. Like talk us through that.
Yeah. So I always say the first thing with partner work, it comes down to communication. Communication is 100% the key to partner work. If it's someone that you've never met before, just start with a simple introduction. You get to talk, you get to build up a base level of trust. Because if you're dancing with a stranger and you haven't kind of spoken to them first, you haven't given them any reason to trust you.
Yeah.
They're just kind of doing what's been told. But if you can communicate and you can say, hey, my name is Mitch, have you done much partner work before? You actually get to already establish a connection, which is also going to help when you actually have to do the routine later on. You've already got this connection going. That way you can actually build into the acting part of it as well, which is a whole other ball game. Talking just physically, by starting a conversation, you can find out where they're at before you've even done any partner work together. They said, oh, yeah, I've done a little bit of partnering through full time. Okay, cool. You can kind of get a general understanding of where they're at. If they say they're really new to partnering, that's your chance where if you're a little bit more confident in the partnering side, you can say, okay, well, I've done quite a few partnering things. I'll be able to help you out. Let's get through this together. Then
Yeah.
you can always, and then the other thing with partnering is you make sure you're comfortable with each other. Yeah, you take a second, you look at each other, you just say, are you comfortable doing this with me?
Yeah.
I would say that's the first golden rule is just the conversation, getting used to each other's company, figuring out where people's weights are. So obviously, some people are quite longer in the torso, shorter with the legs. That conversation and that kind of just getting comfortable, that's the key to working with a whole bunch of different styles. Once you've got that sorted, it basically just becomes a journey together. You guys figure it out. And that's how it works, really. So partner work, honestly, is just a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
But you've got to establish trust before you can get there.
Yeah, amazing. And that's something, you definitely do. Like, even when we partner each other and when we first started, like, it was straight away. Like, you always made me feel comfortable. And I think it's very important, like, especially for people, who you're not that confident in partnering and stuff like that. Like, it's
Mm.
important to have that trust, especially for a girl going up. Like, you want to know that the guy's going to catch you. And
At the end of the day, even talking just a simple like shoulder sit, like most guys are going to be over a meter tall. It's like for a girl that could be scary, or for anyone doing partnering. Yeah, like boys can partner boys, girls can partner
yeah,
girls.
yeah,
It doesn't matter. But anytime when you're going off the ground and all of a sudden you're now relying on someone else knowing what they're doing, you have to put your trust in them. So yeah, if you don't have the trust, it makes things real difficult and it's ultimately not going to work.
yeah, yeah. Say, for example, you've built that trust and you've done all the communication and everything, but you do have
Mm,
a very nervous partner. How do you navigate kind of calming them down, reassuring them? Because, yeah, there's some people that can be quite nervous, which is totally understandable, and there's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that. It's just how do you make it safe and navigate being like, hey, look, this is kind of what we need to do.
The best way to do it is I break it down step by step.
Yeah,
We ultimately discuss the lift, and then I always like to and in an audition it might be a little bit harder. You kind of hoping in an audition front you're probably not doing super advanced lifts in that,
yeah,
but there's still going to be a chance where if someone is super nervous, as long as you do your best and you make sure they feel comfortable doing whatever, the choreographer and the casting team are going to see that you kind of know what you're doing and you're doing your best to help someone, which is going to be an A plus for you anyway.
yeah, amazing.
When you've got a little bit more time and you're in a class and it's just about the two of you working together and helping each other out, the best way I do it is just break it down. So, for example, just an easy up and down. Let's not even talk about a full press. I like to go for a half jump, and then I like to go, okay, let's go 3/4 of the way. Okay, let's go full way up, but without a hold, and then we're just going to come straight down. And I like to just build that little level of trust until they feel comfortable, and then I always let them know, okay, this one I'm going to give you a throw. This one I'm going to give you 5% more power. At the end of the day, I think I will always bring it back to communication. As
Yeah,
long as you communicate, hey, I'm going to do this. Are you okay with that? You give them complete chances to go, can we just bring it back a little bit? Or I'm not too sure, or I'm a little bit nervous about doing this. Can we modify it? And that's where, if you're in a class environment, it's great because then you can talk to the teacher or whoever's choreographing that routine or whatever. And you can say, we've got this issue, this issue, this issue. How do we work through this together?
Yeah, how do we navigate getting it a bit more fluid and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And with, say, for example, you're on a job, and look, everyone's human at the end of the day, right? So, say, for example, you're at a job and it's just not working, and people are getting frustrated. How do you navigate being like, okay, well, we can't do this one. Let's try this one. Is that like your approach, or like you just
Yeah,
keep going for it?
essentially, essentially, I always bring it back to the thing that's so important to make a successful dance partnership is providing like feedback with each other. Now, it doesn't mean you're doing this wrong, let's do something else. It
Yeah.
just means let's break it down, let's figure out what to do, and let's figure out what's actually going wrong. And I normally find by doing it together, it makes the process a whole lot more gentle. It's not an accusation. It's not going, you're doing the wrong thing. You do it together, you figure out, you kind of both decide, okay, the coming up or the jump up's not working. What can we do together? Oh, maybe can we try it with you jumping a little bit more? Can we try it with, maybe can you give a little bit more snap when you punch up? I find that's normally my first go-to thing, is just to dissect it a little bit, go through it, and it kind of becomes a joint decision together. Oh, we've both decided, or we've both had the idea that this is not working. Obviously, if it's someone that you're a little bit more comfortable with, you've done stuff, say if you and I were partnering, I'd probably go, Siobhan, you need to jump more.
Yeah, you're like, girl, jump.
But, you know, most of the time, if you're working with someone who you've worked with before, you're kind of already going to have those little things ironed out, and it's more just about practicing the lift and knowing that it's going to work. But when you don't have the luxury of that time, I think just breaking it down, figuring it out, and that way you can go, okay, this part of the lift is the problem. How do we fix it? Let's try doing this. Let's try jumping a bit more. Let's try, maybe you try jumping a little bit more. I'll try getting a little bit lower to help you with that height. That way it gets rid of the negativity of you're doing it wrong, I'm doing it right, you need to fix it, which honestly, it takes two people to do partner work. And it's like, if something's not working, it doesn't mean one person's doing it wrong.
It takes two people to tango, literally. So it's not one person's fault. Like there's both of you can be doing things to help with the lifts and with help making things smoother until it becomes muscle memory.
Absolutely. That's why I even when I'm teaching someone partnering, I'll never kind of say you're doing it wrong. I'll just kind of try and steer in the right direction and say, maybe this time can you give about 5% more kick up? It's always about, because partnering can be daunting for anyone. So we're in an industry already that picks us apart and basically treats us like nothing, which we love. We love that. We love to be treated like that. We love to be treated like fresh meat.
Yes.
So if there's one thing that we can do, it's make sure that we're comfortable with each other, and it's making sure that we literally lift each other up.
I like that. Literally.
That's it. So I think coming from a place of positivity is always better when working on a lift, or if something's not working, we go, okay, this isn't working. Let's try something else. But it doesn't mean that's a bad thing that it's not working. Maybe it just means our bodies aren't working. Like my arms are a little bit too long for this for you, and your legs are a little bit too short. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just means let's find something else that's going to work.
Yeah, amazing. And that's the thing, right? Like some lifts just based on body types, they just don't work. Like sometimes, a short girl can't really grab her ankles when she's being lifted in the air and trying to split at the same time. Like it's just sometimes it literally just comes down to physics and where your body is physically, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. As you say, you just have to adapt and pivot and find something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'd like to also touch on, because we all think about it when we go to partnering classes, those, when you get up and close and personal, there are those insecurities of like, oh, I'm very sweaty, or oh, I'm very smelly, or, I hope they don't notice this, hope they don't notice this. How do you navigate that and keep it professional? And from a male perspective, is there something like that that you really worry about from a girl noticing?
I guess so. I mean, I kind of treat it very similar to any like rehearsal, audition, any kind of process. It's like, how do you want to be perceived? It's like you're on the job, you want to look presentable. So of course I'm gonna like come with my hair done. I'm gonna come hopefully, you know, presentable, clean shaven, clean showered, whatever. But I'll always have cologne. I'll always have deodorant on hand. I'll always have mints on hand. Just because you never know. You could do a partner routine, and you're not face to face, but you just don't want to be that person that's got the bad breath. And if it is like whatever, you move past it. But I always just make sure I've got things on hand.
Yeah.
The other thing I always try to have is a sweat towel, especially when you're working two people close and close, especially if you've never met them before. It's probably a little bit of like, hi, nice to meet you. Now you're going to have my sweat all over you. It's not exactly the most pleasant thing. So I always try and have a sweat towel and then also a change of top just in case. That's kind of like my go-to when we talk hygiene.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, amazing. And I think, the important thing to remember is we're all human. Everybody sweats, everybody smells, everybody has their things. And it's important to know that the person that you're partnering, they also do as well. So
exactly,
anything that you can help to make it easier, like girls as well for perfume, that kind of stuff, towels, always a really great go-to. And it just takes a minute to be like, hey, I just need to go spray some deodorant, just give me 2 seconds, or I just need to go wipe down my sweat. And
absolutely.
Something
and like sometimes that also comes into a safety thing, especially like sweat. Like if you're trying to like do a grip and you're both super sweaty, that might not work. So you 100%. Always feel free to like towel down during partner classes, and it just comes back down to that communication thing. Hey, I'm just getting a bit sweaty. Just give me 2 seconds. Yeah,
100%, and also a respect thing too. And I think how that you said to approach it, being upfront and honest, like being like, hey, I'm very sweaty today. This is what's going to happen, but it's all right. We're going to get through it. I'm going to wipe myself down, and it's going to be great.
Yep. And like, are you comfortable with that?
100%. I think partnering, as you say, definitely does come down to communication and also respecting the person enough to be like, notice where you can improve with hygiene and where you can't in a way.
Exactly. And I'll never point someone out and say, can you towel down because you're too sweaty? I'll always say specifically, I'll be like, oh, before we do this again, do you want to just like and I'll won't even say you're too sweaty. I'll list like, we've got to do this grip, and I'm like, it might slip off. I was like, but then I'll say, let's both do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That way it's not singling someone out and saying, oh, I think you're too sweaty. It's like, let's both just do this and make sure we're good to go for the next one.
Yeah, and making it more of a safety thing, being like, hey, we're really slippery here. Do you have like something we could just wipe down with in this instance? I'll do it too, kind of thing. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly. And that way it doesn't go on them, and it doesn't make them all of a sudden go, oh my God, he thinks I'm too sweaty. Like, oh, it's the worst thing ever. Honestly,
100%.
As a boy, we don't care how sweaty you are.
Yeah, it's amazing. Fine. I mean, I feel like all girls listening are like, hallelujah, thank goodness.
Hallelujah. No. As long as it doesn't interfere with safety, like sweat away, you're working hard.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's also the same for girls. Like there's so much more you have to be focusing on from definitely a safety perspective that you don't have time to be like, oh, he's really sweaty. Like if you are focusing on that, I highly recommend you change your focus because it can get really dangerous.
Oh yeah, totally.
What would you say has been the biggest challenges for you personally? Like it could be on a job, it could be an audition sense, or it could be in classes. Like what do you think is the biggest challenge for yourself?
That's a good one.
Does he have challenges? This is the question.
No, there's always challenges. I think, especially if we talk about partnering specifically, even like being a really comfortable partner, it's always hard constantly changing who I'm partnering with. Yeah. Especially if there's a day and I'm partnering 3 different people across the day, and I've got 3 different body types, and say I'm doing the same lift with all 3 people, but it's slightly different each time. That's obviously quite a challenge just for the memory and just knowing, okay, this person's different, got to do it this way. But at the end of the day, that all comes down to making sure you do it a few times safely, you break things down, you make sure you're all good to go, and then normally that's all right. I'd say my main challenge actually is things like injury prevention and not overdoing it.
Yeah.
Which is something I've always struggled with. Is I'm very much a go, let's just keep going. And I know that as our bodies are getting older and older, which is very sad, we have to start looking after ourselves a bit more. So just because, even if you're at a gig rehearsal and you're feeling like your shoulder's a bit niggly or something, it doesn't mean you need to go out full. All you need to do is have a chat to the choreographer and say, hey, I can do all this. This is fine. I'll do it a couple times, but just so you know, I'm going to take it a bit easy. And I know that's probably hard for some people because you obviously, if you're at a gig and you're like, a lot of people will think if I say something or if I say I can't do something, I'm going to lose the gig or they're not going to book me again. It's not got anything to do with that. It's got everything to do with your longevity, because there's no point pleasing someone at that gig to hopefully get another gig when you can't do it because you've thrown your shoulder out.
100%.
I think, knowing our limits is always something that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is, like, the good choreographers and the good gigs, like, they would appreciate people like saying that rather than something to happen and then be like, well, why didn't you tell me? Like, exactly. It's something that I think, if you've worked in the industry, it's just a known thing, and it comes down to respecting. Like, you respect the choreographer to be like, hey, this is what's up, but it's all good. Like, I can go a couple of times.
Yeah, and the choreographer will respect you in turn.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
So at the end of the day, we've just got a job to do, and we got to all do it together.
Yeah, 100%. So, Mitch, how do you go, because you're in a very lovely, committed relationship, how do you go portraying you are in love with this person and kind of being respectful to your partner, but also, giving your all for the gig? How do you manage that whole stuff?
Yeah, this is one which I think it comes down to an individual's relationship with their significant other or partner. So I know that my example might be completely different to someone else's example, but again, our favorite word, communication. I think it's just really important to communicate with your partner, find out if they're comfortable with it, if they're not comfortable with it. Sometimes, even if they're not super comfortable with it, if it's for a gig, like sometimes it's like, sorry, I have to do this. This is my job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we are dancers, but as dancers, we are actors, and we are acting a part. We are acting in a performance. It doesn't mean it's real. It doesn't mean the emotions of love or lust with the other person. It doesn't mean that's real. It just means that for this short period of time, I'm going to act this. I'm going to do it because as long as your partner kind of understands that these emotions aren't something that you've generally got for this other person, it's normally fine. And that's kind of how I've always been with my partner. I've always let her know, oh yeah, I'm doing this show for this company. For example, I do with one of the companies I work with, there's an Elvis show. And one of the things with being known as a good partner, there's a duet in that Elvis show to Fever, which is a little bit more sultry and a little bit more, risque for the corporate world. And I do that with another girl, and it's normally the same. Like, me and her get booked on it quite a lot because when you're in the corporate world and you don't get the luxury of doing 3-hour rehearsals, you get the luxury of a 1-hour rehearsal. So they like to book me quite a bit for that because I've done the show before. I know the routine. But it's just a communication thing. I let my partner know, hey, I'm doing this show. I've got the Fever one tonight. She knows all about it. And at the end of the day, it's just about keeping her in the loop. Sometimes I maybe choose not to post certain things on my Instagram.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if I post some partner work, say with a female, and I'm really happy with how it looks, I'll kind of still I'll still give her the heads up. Hey, I'm going to post this. It's just the communication. It's just making sure your partner feels respected.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And I'm very fortunate to have a partner that gets it.
Yeah.
And she gets that I get asked to do a lot of partner work. And she
Because
just
you're an
knows
amazing
that's
partner.
off it. Thank you. Yeah, it's just like one of those things that I really am very fortunate and very grateful, because I know there's a lot of other partners out there that really struggle with like their significant other being a performer and being constantly surrounded by people where they have to convey certain emotions and certain bits of lust. But at the end of the day, we're actors. We're dancers, but we're actors.
100%. Yeah. And I think also, like, you know, it's part of the job. Like, if you're going to go into partnering, like, you got to have that understanding that there will be times where you have to portray those emotions. And as much as it can be confronting for partners, I feel like, as you said, if they respect you as a person and respect your career choice, they maybe, you know, would be a bit more acceptable or lenient, or, you know, a bit more like, yep, I understand, rather than trying to make you feel bad. I think if anyone's been made to feel bad for dancing with a boy, I think you should not reconsider things, but I think you should actually have that open conversation, be like, look,
Yeah.
this is my career, this is part of it, and just
Absolutely.
communication.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if a partner's trying to hold you back from, you know, taking opportunities just because it's dancing with someone else and that partner is jealous or doesn't feel comfortable, it just needs to be an open conversation you can have with them and say, is it just this specific example, or is this going to be an issue with me taking other things going forward as well?
Yeah, 100%. And what's your most favorite or most memorable performance or process or, you know, rehearsal? Do you have a favorite, or are they all kind of just up there for you?
Yeah, there's lots up there. Obviously, being able to dance it all over the world was amazing. When I worked back for Norwegian Cruise Lines, that was very fun. I actually got to perform as like a soloist slash duoist in one of the shows there. So when you get to rehearsals, you're learning the shows all together, but then there's certain spots where you can kind of audition for like specific roles, and I put my hand up to do like a really cute or like a really cool kind of duet on the ship. So I got to kind of do my partnering thing, but sailing around the seven seas.
Amazing.
Then I'd say, what I mentioned it earlier. I just got to perform for the Australian Open men's semi-finals, which is pretty amazing at Rod Laver Arena, which was like really, really, really amazing. There's lots of really cool things I've been really fortunate and blessed to do, which you just gotta, like, my advice to anyone that's wanting to do it is you just gotta kind of take the bull by the horns and go for it.
Yeah, amazing. Specifically for males listening, what would be 3 things that you would advise them, whether they're getting into partnering just fresh out of the bat or been doing it for a while and want to upskill? What's 3 things you would tell them?
3 things. This was probably the hardest question, because I was like,
It
like
often is for
I want to
everybody.
sound really like wise, but then I'm really not. I'm not that person. I'm not that guy. Honestly, I would just say, as well as your normal dance training, you got to prioritize your strength training. At the end of the day, partnering is a 2-person streak, and both people need to work together to do it, but you need to have the strength to back it up. Otherwise, if something does go wrong, you have to then rely on that strength to catch the girl.
Yeah.
The last thing you want is to not be able to catch or be strong enough, or you're doing a lift but your endurance can't handle it. So I would say prioritize your strength training. It doesn't mean don't work on your mobility, your flexibility, your dance training, but it definitely, especially for males growing up, once you kind of hit that 14, 15, 16, start. It doesn't have to be go to the gym 5 days a week, but start working on your push-ups, start working on your squat jumps, your explosive legs, because that's not just going to help you with partnering, that's going to help you with dancing in general. And get to class, get to as many different classes as you can. The thing about working in corporate entertainment and gigs is you never know who's going to be running a gig, you never know who's going to be doing the gig, you never know who you're going to be with. So if you can get yourself into a class, especially surrounded by people you don't know, that's going to help you on the job. Because a lot of the times, the smaller gigs, most of the time you'll work with people you know, but some of the bigger gigs, one of the bigger gigs I did at the end of last year, I knew in a cast of like 10, I knew one other person in it. And you've just got to be comfortable doing your thing, not getting nervous, because as dancers, we like to think that we don't get nervous, but we all do. We all get nervous. We all do that. And the only way that you can push past that is to get comfortable being outside of your comfort zone. And that is so much easier said than done, but it's the best thing to do is just get out there and do something that you're not comfortable with.
Yeah, amazing. And do you have any advice, one more thing, maybe even just on trying to present yourself as a partner, like as a partner in the industry that people can come to? Would you recommend people do show reel stuff, or do you recommend, like, what's your advice for males in that aspect?
Males in that aspect, my advice is, if you want to start doing more specky stuff, things that aren't, say, in your typical partner classes, things that you won't learn, find yourself someone that's like-minded, whether it's another guy or another girl or anyone. And then don't be afraid to experiment yourselves and do stuff. I know that there's a few people that have reached out to me to just do some like one-on-one things, and it's not even a matter of doing it for a specific gig or a specific video. It's just about working together and seeing what you can create. Sometimes your best stuff is going to come out from just having a play and just finding some like-minded people, renting a studio, and just seeing what happens. You never know where that can take you, because you could build up a really good rapport with someone. You could build some great routines or some lifts or some combinations, whack it in a video, send it to someone, and you never know where that could go.
Amazing.
I know a couple of people that have like gotten some really cool gigs and some really cool work from just getting together, experimenting and seeing what they could do.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, Mitch. I really appreciate it, and getting your perspective. It's really great, especially from a male perspective, because it's very interesting to hear as a female listening. But no, thank you so much again. And yeah, maybe we'll get you on for another one talking about some of the contracts you've done, and that would be awesome.
Awesome. That'd be fun.